Thank you very much, Julien, for taking time out, and congratulations on the new boutique in Bangalore. This is the second one in India. The first was in Mumbai 5 years ago. We'll just quickly plunge straight into a very primary question. Julien, for the audience, he's been in the luxury watchmaking business for 26 years, and he heads the Swiss watch brand called Hublot, which is known for watches that cost upwards of what a premium car would. So, do we need luxury? Why do we need luxury? And why does any country need luxury?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here. My first time in India, so great to spend these few minutes with you. And no, you don't need luxury. By definition, luxury is something to make you feel accomplished, to make you feel happy. I always tell my clients, you don't need a watch. You can look at your cell phone, Technologies are here to give us very accurate time. However, luxury will provide a great feeling of emotion, pleasure, and as I said, a sense of accomplishment. That's why we need luxury in life.
And the countries too. Like a country needs its luxury brand, something that is recognizable the world over. For instance, yesterday there was, at least two of our esteemed guests talked about it. We had the banker, Mr. Uday Kotak, saying that India needs to create something like a Louis Vuitton. And we had the G20 Sherpa, Mr. Amitabh Kant, also talking about it. Now your brand, LVM, your parent company, LVMH, everybody knows about it. What does it take to build a brand, that is recognizable from across the world?
Well, it's clear LVMH is a large group. We now own 75 brands in a very, very diversified portfolio. And the idea is really to go after brands that have a strong identity, a strong authenticity. Often, if you think about the successful brand, it's been about what I would call the country of origin effect. We all think, if you think about shoes, you think about Italy. If you think about fashion, you think about France, Italy as well. If you think about luxury watches, for example, you think about small country called Switzerland. And it's all these ingredients that at some point made a brand successful. And of course, after, it's how you work to develop it internationally. That's really the key.
Okay, and India as a luxury market, what is your sense of India as a luxury market, and where is it headed?
Well, I think India is definitely an important market for us and for all our brands. The question is, when do you enter India? When are you mature to enter India? We talked about Louis Vuitton. I think they entered 22 years ago. Yes. Hublot as a watch brand was one of the first to enter the market 20 years ago already. We have 2 boutiques. And we need to be patient. Of course. Why? Because maybe 20 years ago, we didn't have the right environment for luxury brands as we can present them in other countries. Today, it's getting fast. Even if it's my first trip to India, I realized that the landscape is changing. We have more and more shopping malls that are offering the right environment for luxury brand to be here. But more important than that, you have to be present early in the market. We saw that 30 years ago with China. And today I can tell you that having entered the market 20 years ago, we have a competitive advantage to other players that are not here yet or coming later. So it's really important to be present and talk about your brand.
But what does it take, what does it take to build a brand like yours? You are a young brand comparatively. You're 45 years old. So we talk a lot about, when we talk about India, we talk a lot about heritage, which we have, we take immense pride in, and we have legacy, we have heritage and all of that. But you're a very young brand, and you have made a global mark. How does one achieve something like that? Lessons for India from your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, Hublot is very young. It's the first time in my career that I'm actually older than the brand I'm working for. Hublot is only 45 years old, when most watch brands, they are hundreds of years of history. But, you have to take advantage of who you are. And by being very contemporary, our brand is much more building the future of Swiss watchmaking. And that's very meaningful when many other players of the Swiss watch industry are perceived as very conservative, looking a lot and leaning a lot on the past instead of building the future. Today, one of the big challenges in any country is how do we still appeal to young generation? And as I often say, you have to live in your own world. You have to live in today's world. So even if you are doing great watchmaking and we still use the same techniques like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the brand itself has to communicate and has to be innovative, creative to appeal to younger generation. And it's no exception with India. I mean, I'm sure you discussed a lot about innovation, creativity, dynamism. And Hublot is often perceived as, I would say, the terrible kid of the watch industry because we push the limits, because we bring new materials, we bring things that are extremely surprising, but we also build the future of watchmaking. And I think it's very important to, when you jump into a market like India, not only talk about your history, your heritage, but to show that the brand will evolve with the clients, will not get older and older next to the clients, becoming more and more young.
So is heritage a weight, or is it something that we can take and fly with?
No, it's still a great advantage. And I mean, we also use our 45 years of experience, definitely. But there are so many brands that, in a way, Swiss brands, that are too much leaning on their heritage, sometimes too much turned to the past. I think today, if you want to be appealing again, you need to talk about what's new, what's coming new, Let's take the example of new materials. Hublot was the very first brand, years ago already, to introduce ceramic, colored ceramic, sapphire, magic gold, which is an unscratchable gold. When I come to India this week, many people told me, in India, in terms of material, we are still quite conservative. We still like gold, regular gold. So, okay, fine. But I know that the more we move ahead, the more these new materials will also be appealing in India. It's a question of timing. Maybe here for a precious watch, you still want to have gold. And in many countries, it's starting to evolve already, So for me, it's a lot about being who you are and sticking to that and moving with innovation. And right now, when I'm talking to you, we just launched 2 days ago the first ever made multicolor ceramic, which had never been done. It's a world premiere. So we continue to push the limits, we continue to move on. And I think it's key for our competitive advantage.
Okay. So, Swiss watches are synonymous with quality. There's a lot of robust research that goes into it. They are synonymous with fantastic craftsmanship. And India as a country is known for its craftsmanship, whether it's in textiles or it's in jewelry. But, buildings, turning that, taking that advantage and turning it into a brand that the world would recognize requires certain layers of working through. Is it possible to just take us through maybe, what kind of an institutional mechanism is needed, what kind of marketing is needed, what kind of layers are needed that can really build a brand that, the world knows? Yeah.
No, of course. And I'm sure there are plenty of luxury brands in India with great craftsmanship that are not yet known by foreigners, that are only known locally in India. And I think we all went through the same processes. When you think about India from a European perspective, you think about high technology, you think about Tata, you think about all these huge companies that you have in India. You don't really think about luxury. And I think one way to do it, definitely, I see 2 ways to do it. First of all is the more tourism you will have in India. Today, people are coming a lot in India for the culture, to visit your beautiful country, the sites, to taste your food, to enjoy really the country for inside. Not systematically for shopping. When other cities in the world, they go for shopping. Why? Because you are still opening up and developing new shopping malls. When other cities, I'm thinking Dubai, Singapore, London, you have huge facilities for luxury shopping. So this is developing, and it's going to be a way for Indian brands to show their know-how, to show their crafts. And that's one very important way. Plus, I see the Indian diaspora in the whole world. You have Indian communities all over. I have myself quite a few Indian friends in Switzerland, and these can also play a role, to develop that, to get people abroad to know about Indian domestic luxury brand. So the future is bright, but it takes a bit of time.
So tourism will need to be developed further. I mean, that is one leg that you said. And also the placement possibly of the brands where the tourists are able to see it, or what?
Yes, I would, if today I'm getting a new job and I'm working for a luxury brand in India, these are the two channels I would definitely push. To catch the people visiting India, to show them what India luxury, I'm thinking jewelry, I've seen some beautiful jewelry over there, but the names are not known in Europe. So I would definitely catch people coming to India, and that will only rise in the future, as well as find partners in different countries to start talking about this, That's how it happens with Italian luxury goods or French luxury goods back in the days.
So when you talk about partners, do you also mean collaborations with international collaborations and, collaborations within India among, like maybe say a textile tying up with a jewelry brand or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm also thinking of within Asia Pacific, there is one country over the last few years that started to export its culture so well that it's becoming very cool in Europe, in America, and people want to buy goods. It's South Korea. South Korea has done interesting things, whether on TV shows or on pop singers with the K-pop, and some brands are really taking more and more South Korean ambassadors, and this South Korean culture, which is not the biggest country in Asia Pacific, but they are very dynamic in exporting their image. And that's something that definitely contributes. And I see some South Korean brands also starting to develop in Europe, in the US, and in Dubai. I saw that.
Within India, if there were any brands that you would say that, okay, this is a particular brand that I recognize or that I have seen outside of India as well, are there any such brands that come to your mind from India?
Yes, as I said, we think about Infosys in high tech, or of course Tata Group with Range Rover. These are the names that came to mind. All the high tech, mostly from India. That's in Europe what we hear.
But these are services, brands that are synonymous with the services. Products-wise, what are the areas that we can focus on, or products-wise, what are the areas or what are the challenges that India as a country you think faces in terms of developing products that become, like Infosys is known, but a product that the world would see?
I think you're also very well known for textiles and all that, so that could be an entrance door, in my opinion. You cannot do everything at the same time, but from what I saw in textiles or in jewelry, these could be good channels to start and to raise the brand's awareness here as abroad. But you need to catch these clients. You need to really be present at the right spot at the right time. And today, it's not happened yet.
So your parent company is LVMH, and in India we have brands such as there's Sabyasachi, and there are other designers like there's a Tarun Tahiliani. These are names that are there, but a lot of them are known as by the designer's own name. So it's very by the designer's own name, these brands. So how important is it to have an institutionalized luxury where there is, say, funding which is coming in, where funding is coming in, where there is greater support in terms of for instance, Reliance. Some of them have been I have tied up with Reliance, somebody has tied up with your Aditya Birla fashion retail. How important is institutional support for luxury in a country which is both developing and developed, and is looking to, put its name out there in terms of recognizable brands? How important is support from, say, bigger companies to brands that have the potential to flourish?
You mean within our group, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
yes, it's clearly important because out of all those brands, we have big ones that have been well established for a long time, coming to India a long time ago. You have new one coming, and it gives us the opportunity to leverage all the brands we have together. So yes, definitely. After that, in India, we have, in luxury goods, we have one big barrier, which is also the tax that we have on luxury goods, which is a subject we discussed earlier, which is also a break to development. There have been discussions recently between India and Switzerland about working down these taxes, but we have also discussion on an increase of VAT, so it would be a compensation, and that's not helping for sure the local development. Today, brands are trying to go to the markets where they know they can develop in the long term, but we need also to have perspectives that are good for us to be present in a specific market, yeah.
So when you're talking about taxation, that means also, the government needs to go a little easy in terms of taxing, which also means that, in some ways, a government support is also needed. But luxury and government, do governments support luxury? Does your government, for instance, support the luxury industry in your country?
Yes, of course. Tax is a hot subject at the moment with the recent election in the US, and we know that there are discussions on new tariffs on Europe. Yes, of course, it's key. It's key, and we need to see how things will evolve. But the more luxury brands will have the proper conditions, the more they will come to market, develop, and it will also contribute to the development of local luxury brands. So it's a win-win situation. Now, of course, in India is beyond that, because for me, you should see as Indians, you should consider Indians and not only India, and we have to be strong in India in order for Indian people to buy locally, but also to buy when they travel. You cannot think, okay, I'm not going to the market because there are heavy tax. No, I'm going to be there, I'm going to build the brand in the long term, I'm going to reinforce the brand equity, and then Indian people will feel like buying the brand and buying it somewhere in the world. And that's really how we work around these tariffs and this difficult situation. China was a very good example. There was also very high tax on luxury goods. And we managed to work over the last decades to make it strong in China as well. So personally, as a luxury brand, as a luxury watch brand, we will continue to invest in India a lot in the coming years.
Okay, and what is the vision like? What is the future like for you, for your brand, particularly in India? Where are you looking? What is the future like for your particular, your brand in India? What are you looking at?
I'm very optimistic because I think not only Hublot is very well balanced between the different markets. We're lucky to have that. When one market is slowing down a bit, we can compensate with another one. Today, we all know China is going through a more challenging times. But as I say, we have plenty of other markets that are doing well. India is clearly a huge market of potential. If I have to mention 3 or 4 markets that have high potential ahead of us, India is definitely among the 2 first ones. So that's why we started early, and that's why I'm here. I just started this position 8 months ago, and one of my first trips is here to come to India because I know that there is a lot to be done, and we are ready to move much faster than we've done. So I'm personally very optimistic, very positive, and I think, again, we need to think about India, but also about Indian people. And that's for the long term that we want. We've had plenty of Indian clients buying in London, in Dubai, in Singapore, but now I really want to be stronger inside your country.
Okay, so, we have become like bigger consumers of luxury, but as a country that also manufactures luxury products, we are not quite there, would you say that?
No, okay, but it goes together. On one side, you have a fantastic, I would say, mass production capacities. And on the other side, you have a huge appetite for luxury goods. And this is something we are feeling more and more from our Indian clients. So it doesn't go against each other. I think we will continue to grow and develop as a luxury brand in India, and we will, of course, need to reinforce our position and work with you on different other things. It goes together. It's no issue for me.
Are you looking for any kinds of collaboration in India, like, with other, maybe perhaps other brands? Is that on your radar? Also, for instance, some years ago, I think 2016, Hublot teamed up with custom cobbler Berluti. And you had like the leather from the brand, the shoemaker, and it became your dial and also the strap, and it did phenomenally well. Is there any kind of collaboration that you would want to look at perhaps with textile makers in India?
Yes, of course. I mean, we did that. We locally we had also some activations in the past, and I think it's very important. It's very important to have a global strategy, but also to connect with local values, local taste for luxury goods. And in India, I would love to have a collaboration with a local brand. You know, I would love that. We are a lot into sport, for example, a lot into football. I know football is important to India, but your sport is cricket. At some point,
True.
many brands are doing it, but we should find a different angle to go into cricket, to go maybe in other fields. I mean, we talk about Bollywood, we talk about different things. So a collaboration with an Indian brand, I would love. A collaboration with an Indian chef, because we are very much with chef, top chef. And also, why not an artist? Because we've been collaborating with one of the best contemporary artists. So that could be a great way also to address, you know, the culture and to gain awareness and desirability here.
One question before I open to the audience. We'll take a few questions from the audience. Luxury brands also suffer from like a problem of counterfeits, and you have a very nice mechanism of countering counterfeits, because that impacts the brand value of the luxury good. How do you do that? What is the mechanism that is there in place, which we can learn from?
Yes, it's a great question, and here I would say, in a way, in the watch industry, we are slightly better positioned than fashion, for example, because fashion today, the counterfeits are so close to the genuine one. That's honestly, even if you're part of the brand, sometimes you can get lost because it's so well done. In watches, on the design, on the shape, yes, the copies can be really, really good. But if you look and you pay attention to the movement, normally, even if you're not a specialist, you can see the difference. So be careful and look at the movement. If you see a watch that's not at the right price, it could be this. But of course, we are fighting against it as much as we can. There are countries that are more of course, concerned than others. But in general, the advice we give is if you have a doubt, don't buy it, because it's not the right thing. After, you have a lot of people in our industry that say, okay, if you start to be copied, it means you are successful. And you are preparing these clients that cannot afford and would buy a counterfeit to one day reach their dream by acquire a new one. I don't really agree with this, but it's true that if your brand is becoming successful, you're starting to suffer from counterfeiting.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience, please? Can we have the mic over here? Do please identify yourself first.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for this wonderful session. And I'm Arumita Mitra. I am from Sudhamta Foundation, India. So my question would be to you is that you are selling not just luxury, you are selling legacy as well. So I am a fan of analogs myself. However, I see all my contemporary using digital watches. So when my grandfather passed down his Rolex to my father, he said that this is legacy. This is not just a watch. This is not just a brand. This is the legacy I'm passing on to. The same works for a Birkin. But now when you're looking into the market, especially in the Indian market, where the spending power lies more from the age group of 20 to 40, the millennial group, how would you combat this challenge where people might want to also invest on a luxury brand in the digital watch like Apple? There are many digital watches, but Apple topping the concept of, again, the luxury brand from that side. So how would you combat that challenge, and what would be your take on that?
Thank you. It's a great question. If I go back to 1970s, the Swiss watch industry got extremely scared by our Japanese friends coming with digital watches. Some of you might remember. You certainly not, because you weren't there in the 70s. But it was a big shock for the Swiss watchmaking, traditional mechanical watches. We went over that. More recently, when connected watches started to be launched, it was the same. We said, but who is going to buy a mechanical watch that costs more money, is less precise, less accurate, And the digital one gives you so many more information about like your cell phone, who you are, what you do, etc., etc. Again, for me, it's such a different object. One is more a tool. You know, like cell phones. A few years ago, at the beginning of cell phones, we had different type of cell phones. And cell phone was almost becoming a reflect of who you are. Today, I'm sure in this room, most of us, we have the same cell phone, or maybe another one also, which is doing well. But we all have the same, so it doesn't mean anything about your personality. Today, connected watches, most of them, they look the same. So it's quite different. What we have seen in younger generation, and again, I'm thinking about China, but not only, is that we are lucky. God made us with two wrists. So you can wear one that means who you are, your personality, your legacy, the heritage can be given by your father, grandfather, grandmother, etc. And the other one can be your tool. That's something that we see more and more among young people. But as far as I'm concerned, maybe because I'm much older than you, I think we are already quite, we've become a bit slaves of these cell phones. So I don't want to put another one on my wrist, you know, that's why I enjoy it. I think I'm not the only one, because we have seen brands, watchmaking brands developing over the last years. And just to finish on that, yes, it has had an impact more on the entry price segment.
Any other question? Last question, please. We'll just take.
Hello, sir. I am Sumit. I am into exports and merchant exporter and consultant. I have been to many countries. So I just want to know that the same brand which you are launching in India and the same brand if I'm getting in Dubai or in London, so the price point is the price point is the same, or the price point is different? And if I'm going to buy, so if I'm going to buy it from London or from Dubai, so which you think, and about the Indian diaspora, about the Indian thing. So what do you think the people should look into that?
Pricing strategies are quite simple. Usually we try to be setting what we call the worldwide price, which has to be the same for the whole world. And then on top of that, we have the constraint of exchange rates that are moving up and down. We cannot change the price all the time. We have, of course, the tax constraints. So depending from one country to the other, you might get a better price because of that. That's really the way it works. And today we are trying to minimize the gaps, but there are and there will always be gaps. And it's true that the more expensive you go, the more there will be a significant difference of pricing. So that's something we don't always fully control. In my opinion, what I try to follow on a weekly basis is the move of the fluctuation of exchange rate and how we can make sure that we preserve local buying and local clienteling, because I think that's really the key point. What I often advise is, yes, you might travel to buy an expensive watch somewhere else, but you have to count about the travel cost, of course, the hotel, the things, etc. Then you have to bring back. Are you going to declare your watch at customs? That's your responsibility. But some that don't do, they take a risk. So altogether, if you consider also after-sale service, when you have a good relationship with your retailer, with your boutique here, you get all the service that goes beyond. And don't forget that a good quality watch should last much more than our lives, because we say a good mechanical watch can last 300, 400 years. So you have the watch for a long time. So I would consider to buy locally for me, and I'm usually pushing people to buy locally as much as they can.
No, we're really out of time. You can take it offline, please.
I missed part of your question. Yeah. Yeah.
Limited to Dubai or London type country.
Yeah. Alors, we try not to do that so often, because too many limited editions is not good. It kills limited editions. So here we're just launching, and you are well informed, because we are launching right now a special edition made for India. And when I say for India, it's only, and I was asked the question by my team, yes, but we have plenty of Indian people living here, there. I say, okay, but you know what? They will buy it when they come back to India to see their families, because it's only for India. And it's another way to support the market locally, domestically, because some watches are only available in India. And I think it's part of the strategy when I mention investing in India, it's not only advertising, celebrities, ambassadors, retail, because we're opening boutiques, but it's also to dedicate special pieces, special development to your market.
Thank you so very much. We're really out of time. Your question we can please take offline. Sorry, offline, please. Really, sorry.
I'll come to you after.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Can we please have the memento for Mr. Tornare? Very engaging session. Clearly, we are all very interested in Hublot, as is Hublot interested in India, with plans to collaborate from cricket to Bollywood to chefs to artists, and of course its plans to invest more in India.